like, and some specific pictures. We keep telling one of the people who designed this that's one of our employees standing there in front. Give you an idea. I talked about residential in nature and how it actually steps down. It's not all 3 stories. It steps down to 2 and 1 story as you get to the perimeter of the building. This talks a little bit about the studio and the 1-bedroom plan. The arrows point out where that half kitchen, that wet bar area is, just to make very clear what is there and what isn't there. I think they're showing a coffee maker there in the studio on the counter, but that gives you an idea of how they lay out. Here is the 2-bedroom unit. Again, you can see the top there and off to the side that all of the suites do have an outside access, like the balcony or a patio. This gives you some pictures of some of the facilities that we've built in the last few years. As I mentioned, very residential. This is around back the central core. Off to the left there, that screened-in area is where a swimming pool is. This talks about that inside area. I talked about the central core, the atrium, and then there's the dining room on the right side of that picture. This is some of our new design, so far as we've got our library and our dining area. We're trying to upscale things a bit. I think the next one shows the bistro and the theater. Not bad digs, not bad at all. The key points I do want to point out, first of all, in comparison with a lot of other uses, especially in its current zoning, this is a pretty low impact on city services. Substantially less traffic than if you were to put an apartment complex in there or some sort of retail activity. So low traffic generation, no negative impact on schools so far as overcrowding, although we do find that a good number of them will tend to volunteer in the local grade schools. Creates jobs. We try to create a very park-like setting. It allows local seniors to stay in the area. And we've had different facilities that have been welcomed with open arms because they want to keep their seniors at home, in their hometown. Quiet, low impact senior use, and a long-term neighbor. We've been involved with Hawthorne Development and their original company Holiday for about 25 years. They have never closed a facility. What can I tell you? Oh, one of the things I do want to point out, this is not a buy-in. This is a month-to-month rent. So there's not a lot of upfront outlay for it. The other issue is that because of that, the motivation is to keep our residents happy. Because if they're not happy, they're going to go somewhere else. So management is a very key factor to this whole thing. The question is, well, what does this cost a month to move in? I don't have a specific number, but the demographics are built on could a retired school teacher on his or her pension and Social Security live there comfortably? The answer is yes. What can I tell you? Questions? Oh, one more thing I touched on very quickly. So why are we not waiting until you guys complete your other zoning action? Because Hawthorne is so excited to be in Rockwall, they don't want to wait for that process. They're ready to get going. They plan on being here and being here as quickly as possible. You'll find that our PD mirrors your new code to the letter.
Thanks, sir. You do have one question from the council, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Last time you came to us and you brought in examples and you used Holiday Touch. How do you differ from the Holiday Touch?
Hawthorne?
Yeah.
Holiday was divided off as a separate company. They are not doing any additional expansion. They are holding on to about 300 of the facilities. Hawthorne is the go-forward company that is revising the floor plans, moving forward. It's the same family.
Okay, so it's the same family.
Same family. It's the family who started back in 28 years ago. Yes.
Okay. You stated in your presentation it was a long-term neighbor, but yet you said it's month to month. How many people do you see tailing off each month turnover-wise when you see, and what happens to those people if they can't afford it anymore? Where do they go? Did they mention it? What happens then?
I'm not involved in the day-to-day management. I know typical turnover, because I've been talking to some of the local managers, is you'll see maybe 2, 3, or on a 118-unit facility, 118-suite facility, we're looking at 2 or 3 turnover on a monthly basis. Some of them, unfortunately, they pass away. Some of them relocate to another area because of family issues. People moving out because they can't afford it anymore. It happens occasionally, but that is not a common problem. Typically, what we've seen a year and a half ago in certain areas is people were delaying moving into facilities until they had the proper income, the proper assets. And in most cases, what we get is a situation where resident wants to move in, but they're waiting for their house to sell. But,
Okay.
and then in regards to other people, their physical needs get to the point where they need to move into an assisted living or a memory care or something like that.
What kind of attention to detail do you guys play? You haven't really focused on this yet, but if someone gets sick or major occurrences as they age, how do you address the aging population with injuries and falls, and how does that affect you guys?
Affect us.
How do you plan? What with the services provided?
That is where management comes in, and management coordinates with family in regards to each individual resident, and communication between family and the resident and the management is very, very critical. We don't run assisted living facilities. We may refer, but there's going to come a point in time where they may likely have to move to some sort of higher, more intensive sort of care, and that's something that they will consult with the family. Obviously, it's a family decision, and with their physician and that sort of thing. But yeah, there comes a point with some residents where they need to move more intensive care. We have a situation, we have one resident who's been there for I don't know how long. She's 97 years old, and half the people can't keep up with her. So I mean, we've got a whole spectrum of different people, but that is on a case-by-case basis, and that's handled with management and the residents.
Speaking about management, I saw some things online. How often do you usually see your management change within this company? I understand, according.
I really can't speak on behalf of Hawthorne, but I personally, I've been in facilities on an ongoing basis, have not seen a lot of turnover. That's really not my question that I'm really qualified in.
Okay, that's fine. All right, no further questions. Thank you, Mayor.
This being a public hearing, if there's anybody in the audience that would like to come forward and address the council, this is your time to do so. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and give me your name and address and go for it.
My name is Carol Childress. I live at 1507 Murphy Drive here in Rockwall. I live in the Waterston housing development, but apparently I don't live within 200 feet because this is the first I've heard of this. I wasn't aware of it in previous meetings. I just have one question. Is this going to be privately financed? Or will there be any AHP funds involved, or is it totally privately financed?
Completely private.
Sir, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, it's completely privately funded. There's no federal funds.
Okay.
And the minimum age was 62. Is there?
I'm going to ask you to go ahead and come forward up here so we can be heard. And the first question, go ahead on record there. Of course, she asked you if it was publicly funded.
And it's completely private funded.
Okay.
And the minimum age is 62?
Based on the ordinance, it's 62. Typically in the facilities, the lease says 55, but if it's 62, 62 is what we'll abide by.
Okay. And no max? I mean, you could literally
Well,
expire, I guess.
I don't want it to 102, they've been there 20 years. So as long as they're capable of taking care of themselves, they're welcome to stay there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address council? Yes, sir.
My name is Ben Weibel, 215 Trout Street, Rockwall, Texas. I'm not going to go into my justification for private property use in the free market. Most of y'all have already heard that. But I think it's obvious, given what Mr. LaCroix has already pointed out, there is going to be a limited range of use for this property. And I think we've got, and it obviously doesn't matter what I think because I'm not the guy who's been running Hawthorne for 28 years and has all the experience running multiple successful facilities. But we have somebody who's willing to come in and invest, who's willing to give that property owner the value of their property, whatever they determine that is. I think that especially in this economy, it's very important that this council show, yes, we are friendly to business growth and progress. But aside from that, I'll go to the more emotional side of it. I've been blessed in my family with my grandparents have always been around family. But I see this as this opportunity for seniors to come in and have that sense of community, whereas they may not otherwise have that. It gives, not only is this an opportunity for what's evidently a successful company to come in and provide these services, but it provides a benefit for those folks who may not be able to handle living on their own and can still stay in this community, who aren't getting carted off to live with, or to live in other areas where they may not be as welcome. They can be in the areas where they want to live and where the community welcomes them and actually needs them. And I think that this is, and obviously, you know what I think about my opinion. It's irrelevant as long as the property owner and the property buyer are in agreement. But to the extent that these things are regulated by the city, I think it only makes sense to let this happen.
Thank you, sir. Again, public hearing is still open. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address council, please feel free to do so. With that being, with no one else wishing to step forward to the council this time, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. That will bring it back to council. Council, what's your pleasure? Ms. Smith, go ahead.
Can I ask you another, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
It's an unregulated facility, and while I heard Mr. Wild's concerns, I understand, you know, we have a baby booming population in this everywhere, and but y'all don't have anybody on staff or in your facility at all that can assist the seniors with their medications, because obviously as they start to age, I dealt with a grandmother with Alzheimer's. I mean, as they start to age, they need these services, and if we're bringing in a facility for seniors, which I'm not, you know, opposed to that per se, but I would like a facility that could care for the aging population, obviously.
Understood. And this is one facet of the overall senior housing market at this point in time. If a resident has a medical need, in fact, good example, resident falls, breaks their hip, and they are not in a position where they can get out and around for 6, 8, 12 weeks, they will then contract with some sort of home health care that will come in and assist them during that process. Since it's not a licensed facility and we do not provide medical services, we as staff cannot assist them with prescription, you know, medications, that sort of stuff. That is a higher level of care. We found that this does not create a lot of problems. Now, there are some that will have someone come in a couple hours a day or a couple hours a week to assist them with certain issues or items, and we don't stand back, we don't prevent that from happening. But within the facility, and we've got, I want to say about 16 or 18 of these in Texas, we do not provide medical services. That's a higher level of care that costs more, and that's a different segment of the senior housing market.
Okay. Thank you very much.